There's a certain honesty to wood that we often forget in the age of polished perfection and synthetic substitutes. When you stand before a live edge wall art panel, you're standing before a story that predates you by decades, sometimes centuries. This isn't a shape designed by human hands in a sterile studio. It's the irregular lines sketched by nature's quiet but relentless hand. Wind nudging a sapling just so, seasons carving paths through rings, insects tunneling in search of warmth, rain seeping into bark, sun bleaching one side while the other stays shaded. And then one day, long after the first sprout broke through soil, it becomes this, a slice of that history mounted on your wall, neither hidden nor overly tamed, but suspended like a secret the forest wants to share. You notice it first by accident, maybe as the afternoon sun drifts through the window and catches the shifting grain. What looked like a plain slab from a distance suddenly blooms into a river of lines, ripples, and eddies frozen in cellulose. If you look closer, you might find tiny fissures, old stress marks where branches once strained against storms, tiny knots where smaller limbs once burst outward searching for the sky, patches where the wood darkens unexpectedly, hinting at a scar healed long before you were born. Each contour, each swirl, each slight change of hue tells you, this isn't mass-produced decor. This is a relic of patient time. There's something grounding in that. In a world obsessed with flawless surfaces and exact right angles, live edge wall art reminds you that beauty doesn't follow a ruler. It invites your eyes to wander, never resting on a straight path, but drifting along the curves like a wandering trail through an old forest. When you run your palm along the edge, you feel dips and rises, the shape left behind when bark was carefully removed, or sometimes left partially intact to preserve the rugged silhouette of the tree's outer armor. Some people like it perfectly sanded and sealed with a satin oil. Others want to feel the coarse texture, to brush against a bit of wildness every time they pass by. Imagine this panel hanging above your fireplace. The flames below dance and flicker, casting shadows that crawl across the surface, highlighting grained valleys and raised ridges in ways no static paint ever could. Or picture it in an entryway. The first thing people see when they step inside. An instant signal that this space is rooted, warm, and not afraid to showcase raw nature alongside modern life. Some panels stretch wide, nearly the length of a couch, acting as a commanding centerpiece that anchors the whole room. Others are narrower, vertical slices that mimic the trunk's rise from roots to canopy, like a frozen sliver of a tree standing tall even now. Some homeowners get creative, arranging multiple panels together, spaced just an inch or two apart, so that the wall peeks through like negative space between tree trunks. Walk by at an angle and the effect shifts. From some vantage points, the slabs align, appearing as one unified piece. From others, they separate, each a distinct branch of the story. Lighting transforms them even further. Subtle uplighting makes the edges glow, like embers at the end of a campfire. Hidden LEDs behind the slab create a halo effect at night, so the panel floats in a soft aura, untethered yet anchored by its own shadow. If you've never seen this, it's worth pausing the next time you encounter a backlit live edge piece. Stand in a dark room, switch off all other lights, and just watch how the grain and edges breathe under that gentle glow. It's mesmerizing, calming, almost meditative. The making of these panels is an art as much as it is a craft. It starts with the choice of wood, a decision that carries weight. Black walnut is a favorite, rich in color, deep as chocolate, streaked with hints of gold and amber when the light hits just right. Maple offers a softer palette, creamy, subtle, with unexpected curls and figures that dance beneath the finish. Ash has a steady, unpretentious vibe. Cherry, on the other hand, brings warmth that intensifies over years, deepening into a reddish hue that catches fire when sunlight spills across it. Some artisans love the challenge of salvaging fallen trees, storm-damaged, discarded, or deemed unworthy for construction lumber. These so-called imperfections become highlights once the slab is cut and polished. After selecting the right piece, the drying begins. Air drying is a waiting game, months, sometimes more than a year, to let moisture ease out slowly and naturally. Rushing this step risks warping and cracking later. Kiln drying speeds things up but demands constant monitoring to avoid stress on the wood's cellular structure. Once dried, the slab is flattened, a process that looks simple but isn't. A few degrees off level, and you ruin the balance between wall and panel. Then the edge is treated with a delicate hand. Carvers remove only what's necessary to preserve stability, sometimes filling fragile voids with crystal-clear resin, sometimes leaving them open so light can pass through. The surface is sanded, moving through finer and finer grits until it's like touching silk that remembers its rugged past. Some makers stop there, sealing with a natural oil that invites reapplication every few years, a ritual that reminds you this art is still alive, still responding to air and touch. Others add a final coat of matte varnish for a bit more armor, less maintenance. Mounting hardware is hidden cleverly behind the slab, so the panel appears to hover an inch from the wall. From the front, you see no screws, no brackets, just the wood, floating, breathing, unburdened by visible supports. This simplicity demands precision. A misaligned bracket means a tilted panel, a lost illusion. So each piece is test-fitted, adjusted, then locked into place like a secret handshake between wall and wood. What does living with a piece like this feel like day to day? Imagine the way your fingers absent-mindedly trace its edge when you pause by it, maybe while talking on the phone or waiting for the kettle to boil. Imagine noticing how its color shifts from morning's pale light to dusk's golden wash. Some people say they find new details even years later. A hairline fissure they never spotted, a subtle shimmer in the grain that only shows up under winter's sun. Unlike framed art, which freezes an image forever, a live edge panel feels like it's still growing, still moving in subtle ways only time reveals. Guests will ask where you found it, and there is something deeply satisfying in saying you didn't just buy a print or a piece of decor, but chose a fragment of the natural world to live with you. Something no one else has, because no two panels can ever be truly alike, not even if cut from the same trunk. It's a slow, quiet luxury that doesn't shout but whispers, day after day, grounding you when screens and schedules pull you away from simpler things. And when the world feels too sharp and sterile, all right angles and plastic surfaces, you stand before that live edge panel and remember, life isn't straight. Trees don't grow like beams. They bend toward the light, twist away from wind, split and heal. So do we in our own ways. There's comfort in knowing imperfection can be beautiful, not in spite of, but because of it. So next time you run your hand along that edge, remember the rain it drank, the seasons it survived, the storms that shaped it, and know you are touching not just a wall ornament. A straight cut is easy, predictable, measured, but a live edge, that is the line that nature wrote by hand. It's never straight, never repeats. It dips and curves, crests and folds in ways no saw could invent. And when you mount that on a wall, you don't just hang wood, you hang a story. Live edge wall art panels strip away the need for frames or canvas. They're the art and the frame all at once. One long slab, maybe walnut, maybe maple, maybe a reclaimed piece of old growth with years hidden in every ring, cleaned up just enough to show off the grain but left raw at the edges. Some artists mirror the edge, book matching two slabs so the left and right ripple like a river split down the middle. Others let a single slab stand alone, wide, heavy, unmistakably real. No two edges are the same. One might roll smooth like a wave. Another might jag sharply, bark scars and insect trails still visible if you look close enough. Some leave the bark intact, sealed under resin or oil, so it doesn't flake. Others strip it back, sanding down to the hard cambium layer beneath. Still rough, still alive, just more stable. And color, nothing fake. Just oil, maybe a clear satin finish. You don't paint a live edge. You don't hide it under stain. You show it off. Let the heartwood darken, let the sapwood glow pale. Let the knots interrupt the grain, like punctuation marks. The grain itself isn't just background texture, it's motion. It pulls your eye across the panel, edge to edge, root to tip. Mounting is as minimal as possible. You don't cage it in a heavy frame. You don't bolt it through the front. Usually it floats, small brackets behind, French cleats locked tight to the studs. From the front, nothing distracts you. It looks like it hovers, like you plucked it from the forest and pinned it weightless to a blank wall. Sometimes the slab stays whole. Other times artists cut it into planks, but keep the live edge on each piece, spacing them slightly apart, so the wall peeks through. A broken river of wood, drifting from floor to ceiling. Or maybe just a single piece above the bed, one raw, graceful line that interrupts the neat grid of drywall and paint. There's no rulebook for these. Some run tall, vertical, echoing the trunk they came from. Others run wide, over a couch, over a fireplace, stretching that wild edge like a horizon. Some are thick, chunky slabs that stand proud off the wall. Some are thin, delicate veneers laminated to backing boards for lighter weight. Either way, the eye doesn't care about thickness. It cares about the edge. Making them is honest work. You mill the slab flat, flatten the faces, square the back, so it sits flush. But you don't touch the edge more than you have to. You sand just enough to knock off splinters, nothing more. Then oil. Then wait. Sometimes you add bow tie inlays to keep cracks from running. Sometimes you fill knots with clear resin so they don't crumble out. But mostly, you just let the wood be what it already is. And when it's on the wall, it changes the whole room. A live edge panel brings a softness that no flat plank can. It's organic without being rustic, modern without feeling cold. It feels timeless, like it could hang in a cabin or a penthouse and look equally at home. It reminds people, subtly, quietly, that straight lines aren't the only lines worth celebrating. Look at it once and you see wood. Look at it twice and you see motion, flow, memory of what it was before it was art. And maybe that's the real draw. A live edge panel isn't complicated. It doesn't twist itself into symbolism. It just is. A slice of tree, caught in a moment, given a stage. No more, no less.